Hello there, people of the Webernet. The Sheep Killer here, and welcome back to another DSK news. Today is all about Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Today I'm going to give my thoughts on the games. And yeah, I've never really given my thoughts on the games before, so I'm going to do that here. Overall, my opinions are very mixed. And if I were to put this game on a tier list, it'd probably be somewhere in the middle. Let me explain why. Generally speaking, I found the Sinnoh region to have a lot of flaws. Maybe the most, maybe not, I'm not sure. But it's not the worst region. There are some that have less flaws but are more boring. But it has some very glaring flaws. Like the swamp and snow routes being a huge pain to navigate, the fog being nothing but a waste of time, pretty much. And the terrible regional decks, even in Platinum. The Great Marsh... And the Great Marsh is a contender for probably the worst experience I've had in the series. And there's also a lot of things that are just tedious or mildly annoying in general. And you know how much of this was fixed in the remakes? None of it. They kept all the annoying things in for the sake of being faithful, which I don't like. Well, there's one thing that wasn't faithful, the Underground. It has some positives and negatives to it. For the positives, there's the Pokemon hideaways, where you can find a whole bunch of Pokemon, especially if you have the National Dex. And that's about where the positives end. Even with the hideaways, some Pokemon there have evolution items that can only be obtained by certain Pokemon in the wild holding an item, which is a low chance. But then there's digging, which is great for the most part, but there's a lot of items you pretty much need that could take you dozens of hours to get if you're unlucky enough, like me. Then on top of that, there's cut content from the original games. You can no longer talk to other players, instead there's random NPCs, which makes Spiritomb a lot more tedious to get. And then there's stuff like traps you can set for other players, secret base decorations, and sort of capture the flag minigame in the secret bases, which were all removed for the sake of random statues that increase Pokemon spawn rates by like 10% or something like that. Except for the Underground now, let's talk about something else. First off, excluding the post-game rematches against Gym Leaders, Elite Four, and Champion, which is an amazing addition by the way, every trainer uses the same garbage teams that they used in the original games, instead of what they had in Platinum, or perhaps something even better. That means most Team Galactic Grunts use the Wurmple line, Falkner uses an Ambipom, Candace uses a Medicham, and Flint uses a Lopunny. All dumb things that they could have easily changed. Also, all overworld areas look objectively better in Platinum, but instead they kept the look from the original games, because everyone prefers that, right? That means you must do math in Fantina's gym instead of having a cool lighting puzzle. There was also a villa you could buy decorations for in Platinum that was removed in the remake. And you know who gave you that villa? Steven from the Hoenn region. We could have had Chibi Steven in these games, but no, they prevented us from getting that for the sake of being faithful. Anyway, for the last of my complaints, kind of. First off, the movement in this game just feels weird. Sinnoh has so many cramped areas, so when we're given free movement, it ironically feels more limiting. They should have either kept us on the grid at all times or made the map bigger. Also, I don't know if it just started in this game or if it just took me forever to notice, but battles in this game seem to take way too long to get started. And some turns outside of that take forever as well. Especially when your Pokemon has high affection, which will happen since it's tied to the normal friendship stat now. It's not optional like it was in Gens 6 and 7. I don't know why this is the case, but turns could easily be so much shorter if they just streamlined the text that appears in battles. Also, the Pokédex is very clunky to use in this game, thanks to it not having the improvements from Platinum. And using the dowsing machine in particular is also very clunky because it's just not the way it was in the original game. Instead of making the dowsing machine its own item or something, they kept it tied to the Pokédex anyway, which, without the DS touchscreen, is just not at all intuitive to use. Also, some Pokemon don't have walking or running animations in this game, which is just stupid. Also, this game wasn't totally finished at launch. You need the Day 1 update to have an intro cutscene and an actual credits screen, and for most of the music to be there and not destroy your ears. And you also need to access Romanus Park, where most of the post-game legendaries are. And the GWS still hasn't been implemented at the time of writing this, or at the time that it releases. And now, my last complaint for now. The lack of quality of life improvements from other modern games. Sure, we got some, like how making a competitive team is still as easy as it was in Sword and Shield, with one exception, which we'll get to. And there's the improved experience system, but then that has the problem of not being able to be toggled off for players that don't like it. But then other important ones aren't here. There's no XP candies to get your team to a high level easily in the post-game, so you'll have to grind. And TMs are back to being single use in this game, which is one of the worst regressions I've ever seen for this series. I don't know who thought this was a good idea or why, but that's basically it for the negatives. There'll be a few more here and there, but that's all the major ones. Now on to what I did like about this game. For one, I know not everyone's going to agree with me on this, but the art style is fine. It's not perfect. There definitely could have been some improvements, and I would have preferred something else, but I don't hate this. But also the zoom-ins on the TV models was definitely not necessary. Overall, it's not bad. Not really a good start for the positives. But one thing that is totally positive, the music. It's great as always. I don't know if it's just recency bias, but this might just be my favorite remake soundtrack in the franchise. Of course, it did exclude the Frontier Brain theme and instead just gave Palmer Cynthia's theme again. That's why I said I wasn't completely done with negatives. But that's beside the point. What we did get was great. We even got a few original tracks. Also, although the main story teams were mostly garbage, the rematch teams that I alluded to earlier are fantastic. And them along with the main story league teams offer a great level of challenge that hasn't really been seen much in the series up to this point, if at all. Cynthia's second rematch team is officially the strongest team from the NPC in the entire series. And yeah, that's right, there's 2 league rematch teams. The first one based on the Platinum teams, one of like 2 ways this game acknowledges Platinum, and the second being all new teams, which are better in my opinion. Cynthia's ace Pokemon is tied for the highest level with Red's Pikachu and Heart Gold Soul Silver, but the rest of her team is higher leveled and more balanced than the rest of Red's team, so she's overall the stronger trainer. Now as for one more good thing, another thing not everyone's going to agree with me on, just like the art style and maybe the music, but I like how you're giving the Jirachi and the Mew for having the other Switch Pokemon games. It gives players a way to obtain these mythicals without needing a limited time event, a pre-order bonus, or a $50 controller. And as for everything else that's good in this game, well, it's all this stuff from the originals. After all, I've already gone over pretty much all the updates, and Sinnoh isn't all bad. It has its strong points too, which is also part of why it's not the worst region. So that's everything I have to say about Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. As you could probably now tell by all the good and bad things I had to say about these games, my thoughts on them are very mixed. There are some things I absolutely love, other things I despise. I don't think I've ever been this mixed on the mainline game, except maybe Let's Go. But now that this game's time is over, we're soon getting Pokemon Legends Arceus, the next mainline entry in the series, which breaks new ground for the series. A lot of things this game is doing is stuff that the series has never done before, and I'm personally very excited for it. It's even fixing a lot of the issues that I brought up during this review, and I can't wait to play it in a few weeks. Once I'm done with it, I'll be back to share my thoughts on it as well, so look forward to that. With that, I'll see you all next time. Happy hunting!